On May 24th, 2016, Tumblr user Mooncalf posted an image of a mysterious elf and a challenge to identify it. For 6 years, this went nowhere. No one was able to identify this elf, and many, myself included, assumed that the elf had been drawn to look like it was from the early 90s and that the image was a hoax. After all, it's not like this would have been unheard of. However, the reality of the situation ended up being far more interesting. On September 2nd, 2022, Twitter user Will Sloan posted the elf again, and it was picked up by lost media YouTuber Blame It On George, who further amplified the search, and after 6 years it was finally identified as the Soulmates in the Gift of Light, also known as the Christmas Gift of Light on a VHS Christmas cartoon compilation. So what exactly is the Soulmates Gift of Light? It's actually a sort of pilot episode for a series that never got made called The Soulmates, and it was broadcast as a Christmas special on the CBC, which is kind of like Canada's equivalent of the BBC. So, is it any good? Well, let's find out.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 la, 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 dun.
The movie opens with this Tumblr sexy man and his twink friends sneaking around town while the Wild Woody soundtrack plays.
Call me Woody. Wild Woody!
Causing mischief like hypnotizing the seeing eye dog so its owner walks into the street and almost gets hit by a car. You know, a typical harmless prank, all in good fun, am I right? For some reason, while this is happening, the dog just like randomly says hello in like a completely different voice than his normal voice. Like, I'm not sure what we're supposed to be getting from that. I think that might be a mistake.
Come on, help me out here. Ruff? Ruff? Yeah, I don't know. You've been pitching that all night. That's inspired!
Something you're gonna notice throughout this movie is that the animation is actually genuinely pretty fantastic. Like the fact that genuinely terrible animated Christmas specials like Rudy Rottnest were more accessible than this for so long is a crime.
I have to eat a lot because I'm the biggest and the strongest of them all. I have to stand in front of the sled. Rudy doesn't have to come with us.
We are all proud of you, but don't be greedy. You have better be some nicer to your little brother.
Then Santa Claus watches some poser get a shit rocked and he's like, nah man, f this, I'm going to the moon. But actually, yeah, this is a weird thing, he's going to the Earth, so that implies that Santa Claus lives on the moon. This is never actually brought up again in the movie, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. We then meet our protagonists, the Soulmates, who kind of look like bootleg versions of the Hanna-Barbera Pac-Man. And they're doing typical radical 90s things when suddenly they're summoned by Zordon for their first and last mission, which is to help this reindeer save Christmas through the power of positive thinking. Basically, they're like the Smiling Friends before the Smiling Friends were a thing. Then we get this absolute bop of a theme song.
Everybody needs a soulmate, someone to communicate. We all need a soulmate, yeah, that's how it got to be. And everybody needs a soulmate, help them communicate that you can be what you wanna be, what you wanna be.
Sweet gravy giblets! Are you seriously telling me this was lost media for like 30 years? This is a gosh dang masterpiece! Like, I know technically it's not lost media since as soon as we knew what it was, it got uploaded, but dang, this should have been a holiday classic just for this song alone. Anyway, back to the movie. I mean, we were just talking about the movie, but I mean, that's what I wrote in the script, so I guess that's what I'm saying. The Soulmates go to Earth, but not before talking to this giant spherical guy who's called the Good Soul. And I just want to use this opportunity to point out that the first time I watched this, I thought it was made for some sort of cult or something. Like, it definitely gives off Scientology vibes with a constant talk about the power of positive energy. But it's not, it's just really cheesy. And you know what? We like that, don't we, folks?
You all have your assigned sectors to search. Find Santa. Now go! Go! Go!
So after checking in with the reindeers, we go back to the dog and the blind girl subplot, and there's another really good fully produced song.
Wherever you are in your dreams tonight, I wanna be there too. I wish on a star to give me the sign to find my way to you. Don't forget me, please don't let me go away. Don't forget me, if you let me, I'll stay.
Like, honestly, this could easily be a top 10 hit in Canada. Like, maybe they have music there, maybe they don't, I don't know. But they're gonna be really hard pressed to come up with something better than this. It kinda sounds like if George Michael did a slow, somber sounding song. So the dog packs up his things and leaves, literally, because he thinks he can't be a good seeing eye dog anymore after the incident at the beginning of the movie. Then the soulmates meet this reindeer, and the girl soulmate lets out this primal scream. Like, you cannot fake that kind of scream of primal fear. They took that voice actor's baby and threw it across the room to get that reaction. They then find Santa, and he's become a homeless guy who lives on a bench. Like, the talking dog gets on the bench at the same time, and Santa's like, get the f off my bench. So then the soulmates and the reindeer want Santa to go back to the North Pole, but he doesn't want to because no one believes in the spirit of Christmas anymore, and people are committing too many crimes. Like, Santa, let's be real here. The early 90s are comparatively a much more peaceful time than the majority of the world's history. Like, bro, you were alive during World War II. Then we cut back to Santa's workshop where the Tumblr sexy man, whose name, by the way, is Angus Mcbragg, and his chain-smoking assistant, Doubting Thomas, are staging a hostile takeover of the North Pole. They also have kidnapped the girl soulmate, who's making this face for some reason. Angrus's plan is to make a bunch of Doubting Thomas dolls so kids will doubt themselves and spread negative energy. Yes, it really is that ridiculously ham-fisted. So to get Santa and the dog Truman to believe in themselves again, the girl soulmate uses magic imagining, which is this idea that if you will something to happen, it will actually happen. Which, while not being particularly useful in the real world, actually works pretty well in the soulmates world. Then Aurelia, which is what the girl soulmate is called, so I can stop saying the girl soulmate every time I mention her, gets hypnotized by the Doubting Thomas doll and turns evil. But this only lasts for about 5 seconds before the other soulmate and the reindeer use the power of magic imagining to send them positive vibes, which makes Aurelia a goody two-shoes again, as well as Doubting Thomas. So Santa Claus and the dog are still like sitting on this bench and being depressed and stuff when the letter the little blind girl wrote gets to them, and Santa can't read it because he lost his glasses, but it's okay because the dog can read it. Yeah, the dog can read the letter. So they don't know who sent the letter, but Santa Claus says he can trace their IP address using his letter code detector at the North Pole.
That is so, Cap Jr. I just pulled your IP. I've got it right now.
No, you don't. Huh. Say
Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where you're from.
it. That's not... How did... Hey!
Oh, I just pulled your IP. 308 Negra Aurora Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's you, isn't it?
Then we go back to the North Pole where the elves have made enough Doubting Thomas dolls for all the children in the world, which is apparently 1 box full. Then Santa and the dog and the reindeer and the other soulmate arrive at the North Pole, and the Doubting Thomas dolls have all been turned into non-Doubting Thomas dolls. So Angus Mcbragg runs out the door and falls down the stairs while his iconic guitar riff plays. Then he makes his getaway, so I'm sure we'll see him again in the next Soulmates adventure. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. So then Santa brings Truman back to his owner and thus ends the movie, followed by the credits with the absolutely catchy theme song over them. So that's Soulmates the Christmas Gift of Light. It's a pretty great Christmas special with some good animation and some fantastic music. The story is actually pretty heartfelt despite the cheesy overall message about the power of positivity and wishful thinking. It's honestly a crime that it was basically completely unknown about for so long because it's an instant holiday classic. Anyway, thanks for watching this. This was the first video in the new direction this channel is going in, and I put a lot of effort into making it everything it could be. At least that's what I'm writing I did in the script right now. We'll see how things turn out in reality later. But hey, if you want more fun videos like this, then feel free to subscribe. If you want, because I've got plans for many more. Merry Christmas, y'all! Oh, and by the way, I made a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name listed in the credits of new videos, exclusive content like unreleased videos, alternate versions and commentaries, getting to vote for the topic of videos, and much, much more, then check it out. Trust me, I'll make it worth your while. You'll definitely get your $10 worth. Then Santa and the dog and the reindeer and the other Soulmate arrive at the North Pole, and the Doubting Thomas dolls have been all turned into non-Doubting Thomas dolls. Dolls. Then Santa and the dog and the dog and the dog. Then Santa and the dog and the other Soulmate and the dog and the reindeer and the dog and the Soulmate